One thing's for sure, if you find yourself working at a theme park, along the way, you're going to witness some blunders and bloopers. Here's some of the ones that I saw and some that I accidentally caused. In my 10 years of working at theme parks, I saw a number of bloops and bleeps and blunders and mistakes, and things happen. We're human and we goof up sometimes. And yeah, I'm really good at that. But it made for some funny moments and some great stories. Great moments of just being able to laugh. Silver Dollar City was a great example of where blunders and bloopers became part of what we did. Working on the train, we did our train robbery, and as part of the train robbery out in the woods, you had a couple of ding-a-ling goofball hillbilly train robbers out there. We had a whole little play and a skit that we did, and it was a lot of fun, and just one dumb joke after the other. You put a bunch of goofballs out there, and we're going to start ad-libbing and goofing around and trying some other things. But of course, other random things happen as well, and it made for some quite entertaining moments sometimes. And so part of our challenge was to take these bloops and blunders and find a way to incorporate them into the show so it didn't stop the show, but it gave you a good laugh. A good example is me. I'm a klutz. I just naturally goof and trip and bungle into things. And I had a number of times where we had some steps that we had to walk down to be able to get to the train. And I had more than a couple times that I slipped going down the steps and fell down and landed on my keister hard one time. And you have to sit there and kind of incorporate in like, Alfie, that hurt! And what can you do to kind of play it for the laugh and then get up and keep right on going? I can remember one time I was running from the conductor. Conductor's chasing me up the hill and he has the gun and I'm trying not to get shot. I tripped right on a wood chip or something and I just did a face plant. Splat! Right there in front of everybody. Ow! And all you can do is just kind of roll over and go, Alfie, help! And of course, everybody's laughing because they think it's part of the show and planned, and you're getting up and you're pulling wood chips out of your hands and off of your face, and ow. Thankfully, I never really fell off the train. Honestly, in 3 years, I'm surprised I never did that once. And then, of course, you're in the middle of this, and you'd have those times where you would just forget your lines. And you stare blankly, and of course, usually I was the one that had messed myself up. I can remember, for example, even on my last day, after 3 years of doing this train robbery thing over and over, I decided to have some fun, and I pulled an unusual thing on one of the conductors who'd been out there forever. And instead of doing Yankees and Indians and other things that we did, I decided to do pirates, because, you know, there's pirates in the middle of Missouri. I got myself so tickled as I'm doing this. Yeah, up around the bend, there's 9 pirates. Meanest, ugliest pirates you ever done saw, and they've all got these wooden war clubs. And the conductor walks off and says, there ain't been no pirates around here in forever. And I went blank. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew what I wanted to say, and I just went, yep, you're right. And he had to totally feed me a line. So why should I look for these pirates? Oh yeah, you need to go look for the pirates. I was forever doing stuff like that. Even though I knew the show. For me particularly, if I get laughing at something, I have a terrible time stopping. Which the other guys absolutely loved because, okay, how can we get George to laugh? Because once he's starting, he's gone. He's done. And I would kind of write it back in and then I'd start laughing again and mess the whole thing up again. Rein it back in, and 30 seconds later, I rethought about what had gotten me laughing, and off I went again. It was bad sometimes. But we had a lot of fun with it. And then, of course, there were other times when my klutziness kicked in. I'd be walking out there with my gun, and especially as Ralph. I don't know why. It always seemed to be when I was Ralph, which was the dumber of the two robbers. That would be when I would be running up the hill or up the steps and my gun would bounce out of the holster and fall down and hit the ground. And thankfully the guns were staged and they had been filled with lead so they couldn't actually be used as guns anymore. But it was still, whoops, dropped my gun again. Bend down, pick it up. Usually my Alfie's really good. Yeah, Ralph, that's why we don't give you bullets. But Silver Dollar City wasn't the only place that we had a lot of bloops and blunders. I've watched a number in my 5 years at Walt Disney World as well. And I can honestly say, at Walt Disney World at least, the vast majority of them were not my fault. It's generally because I was kind of behind the scenes of Walt Disney World. I watched the bloops and blunders take place, as opposed to being the one who caused it. It was kind of a nice change. As an example, I can remember one time when the parade was coming down and I was standing on the side of the street over by Casey's Corner just to be out of the way of the parade, waiting for it to finish up. And as I'm standing there under the roof, Florida did what Florida does sometimes, and all of a sudden a storm hits and it starts to rain and pour, and it's right as the brooms are coming down the street. And the brooms are trying to dance and everything, and it's starting to rain, and when it rains, they do try to pull parts of the parade out, but most of the time, if it starts to rain and the parade has started, they're stuck. That whole parade goes, and it has to go from start to finish, because there's not really an option to back up or stop the parade in the middle. They've got to go. Well, these poor brooms are dancing in the rain, and the ground starts to get a little slick, and you watch one of the brooms just slip and flip and fall and roll, and it was bad. There were other cast members who had to run out and try to help pick the broom up and then help them off stage. And that was one of the bad things with the rain, is it would sometimes cause slips and trips and stuff because the ground would get wet. And then the poor characters would get drenched. Although I did always have to laugh if you would watch the rain start in the parade. Here would come Mary Poppins, and she put her little parasol up. Somebody's got to stay dry. Another one that you would see on a regular basis at Disney was if you were working with, say, the Toy Story characters, Woody and Buzz. There is a long-going thing that people think that if you yell, "Andy's coming!" to the characters, that they will fall down and act like they're just toys again. It doesn't work. It did in the very early days, but they quit doing it because it really became a big safety issue and caused a lot of problems, and people would be in the middle of interaction, somebody else would walk by, and the character is supposed to do this, and so they quit doing that. And it made it really nice by the time you get to Toy Story 3, because then Andy's at college. And that's what you tell him. So I'm working with Woody and Buzz one time, and we're over in the Pixar Place area over at Disney MGM Studios. And as we're working, these two college guys walk up, and I mean, they think they're really cool, and no big deal, they're college guys, so what? But then they think that they're going to be really funny. And in the middle of talking with Woody and Buzz, they both yell, "Andy's coming!" and fall flat on the ground. Woody and Buzz stand there. The attendant and I are both snickering, and guys, Andy's at college. They know better. And the two guys are just laying on the ground and acting like they're dead. Let's just say a lot of people in line laughed at them pretty good because they looked really silly. And occasionally you would see other mishaps and things like a costume malfunction. I can remember one time when a Mickey's shoes broke and the bottom came out of it. That was really interesting, trying to have to help a mouse with half a shoe. You get backstage so we can get another shoe again. And occasionally you might lose a button. That was most of the bloops and blunders that you would see at Magic Kingdom, unless it was a guest really being silly or dumb, and I've got lots of videos about those. But I do remember one that happened during Christmas time at Epcot. I remember I was walking past the UK pavilion, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you hear this voice. "Yeah, gotta get that." What? And I kind of stopped and looked around, and there's other guests looking around going, "What's going on?" And then you hear it again, "Okay, yeah, help me put the coat on." And I realized what this was. This was Father Christmas, who was one of the Christmas storytellers. And he's actually backstage getting ready to come out and tell his story in just a little bit. And he's accidentally turned his microphone on. Everybody out in the UK pavilion can hear him as he's getting ready and getting dressed. Let's just say I got a good bit of exercise running backstage, running all the way around behind the UK pavilion to the trailer, running into that door. "Your microphone's on!" And poor Father Christmas is standing there going, oops. Okay. Did everything I say, was it all appropriate? I don't think I said anything. Everybody was just kind of shocked, like, "Oh no, I hope we didn't mess up too bad." Thankfully, most of what it was kind of, grunts as he was trying to get the outfit on and everything, and there wasn't anything inappropriate said. It was still kind of a funny moment. Probably my personal biggest blooper blunder, though, actually happened when I was working at Busch Gardens as a Rhino Rally driver. I kind of hinted at this event once way back in one of my early videos. Let me tell you the full story this time. I was actually out driving Rhino Rally one evening. It had gotten dark, and we would still run in the dark, which made it a completely different ride. We had a lot of fun. I had my Land Rover full of passengers and had given them all the safety spiel. We came out, started off, went up the hill and over the bridge by the elephant pen, and as I turned the corner, I cut it a little sharp. There's not a lot of room for error at that point, and when I cut it, I hit a big rock that was right on the side. So right as we're going around the corner, all of a sudden you hear this crunch. Oh, not good. And I'm thinking, oh, how badly have I damaged the Land Rover? Am I okay to run? And am I going to get fired? Oh, our safety procedure at the time meant that I had to actually pull over a little bit, stop, and then call in and let the manager know, hey, I just hit a rock and I think everything's okay. I don't see any parts coming up, but... And we had to have this long conversation while all my passengers are still sitting in the Land Rover, wondering if we're okay, and I'm trying to apologize to them. I'm so sorry. I'm a goober. And we finally decided that the Land Rover itself was probably fine. Doubt it took any damage. Sounds more like I just scraped it. Okay, so I'm cleared because the whole ride is stopped because nobody can get around past me, which I finally got the clearance and I started the ride again. The damage did turn out to be just a scrape, which wasn't too bad. But the hardest part was at this point, we sat for probably 15 minutes. These poor guests have been sitting here thinking they've got an idiot driver who can't steer straight and is hitting things on the side, and I still have to finish the whole ride because we had barely begun. We can't change drivers. We can't just stop in the middle of where we're at because there's wild animals out there, which meant I still had to do a whole ride while spieling, while trying to be entertaining, while trying to be funny to these poor guests who really are not in the mood for a fun, entertaining ride at that point, but are really thinking, this has not been fun, we want to get off. Oh, not a fun ride, can I tell you. I'm happy it was dark because I must have been beat red while I was driving and just embarrassed and awkward and trying to apologize the whole time. And we didn't do the route getting lost in the river. I just turned straight into the station and, apologize again. I'm so sorry, folks. I hope in spite of the goober driver that you had a good time, and I hope you come back and get a much better ride later. Just kind of walk off stage afterwards because they parked me and just went, oh, man. Thankfully, I only got a small reprimand because I didn't do that much damage to the truck. I had some scrapes along one of the metal plates. Just embarrassing and awkward. Not a real fun ride. Thankfully, that was about the worst I ever had, though. And most of the time, if I had a problem at a park and it was a blooper on my part, it was because I got tongue-tied. Ended up kind of doing my yeah, that's not exactly what I meant. But, if you don't think I do it often, watch the bloopers at the end of my videos. You'll see it a lot. But that's kind of what it was like if I had a blooper, okay? Find a way to incorporate it into what we're doing and roll on. Hopefully laugh about it and make the guests laugh. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little look back at some of the bleeps and blunders we had and got a couple good laughs out of it. If you do, please make sure you hit that like button, share it with friends, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'd love to hear about your stories too. Don't forget to share it in the comments below. Let me know what kind of bloops and blunders you've seen at the parks. If you want to know about this, yes, I've got a store of merchandise. Don't forget to check the link in the description as well. Thank you so much too to my patrons on Patreon. I am so grateful for your support, and I've had a whole bunch of new ones this last month, which I am so excited and grateful for. So I want to make sure I give shout outs to all of them. So a huge thank you to all my new patrons, starting with Adam Wood, Narada Masters, who increased her pledge, Alan Weeks, Kelly, Pandora Wilcuts, Brandon Neely, Eric LeMay, Ryan Gillen, I hope I said that right, Patrick, and I know I'm going to mess this up, Patrick, I'm sorry, Patrick Kiwiat, you can see the name there, Drew Palmquist, who increased his pledge, and Michael Birchfield. Thank you so very much to each and every one of you. I am so grateful for your support. It means so much to me. If you want to know more about Patreon, be sure to check the link at the end. Hey, I give you most times an early preview of the videos, as well as an update on what's going on, and a little bit of insight into some other things. Thank you so much for watching. One thing's for sure. Ooh. Okay, try that again. Well, of course, you put a bunch of goofballs out there, and they're going to start ad-libbing, and you put a bunch of... yeah, ad-lib, because I can't talk. Okay. Had my truckload... Had my Land Rover... I don't even know what I'm driving. Am I driving a truck, a Jeep, or a Land Rover? Okay. But again, But again, I haven't said it the first time. Thank you so much too to my Patreons.